And we're back for episode 2 of this Ducati's rebuild series. This is my new to me 2023 Ducati V2, and it is, as you can see behind me, extremely wrecked. Underneath what is now twisted metal and cracked fairings lies pure Italian performance. 955 cc's of raw power and aggressive design built for the track. This bike is now part of our journey, and our journey is bringing this V2 back to life, one bolt at a time. I'm excited to jump back into this. It's been a couple of days, and what we found out last time was there was some pretty major damage with the clutch cover, so we need to tear down the whole right side of this motorcycle and get that ready to come off completely so we can assess and get new parts on the bike and ready to be running again. Before we do that, we have a little bit of cleaning up to do, so let's clean up and get ready for some work today. Now that we have a little bit of a cleaner workspace, we can go ahead and get started pulling this bike apart. Let's get to it. If you remember from last time, getting this plastic part off was giving me a lot of trouble. I did find out how it was held on. It was held on underneath a couple things, so I'll show you what that looks like. So this here is part of the ECU, I believe. And so it's held on by 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts here. I already took them out and kept them in the bracket, but this just comes out of the way really quickly. And then under that are bolts here and here for this side. But the bolts here and here are what hold this thing on. So with that, I can really just slide it out. And just like that, we have our piece that was giving us so much trouble last time off the bike. And good news, it's in good shape. One less thing. And now we get to keep moving, keep digging, and go on from here. So this piece here, which holds the rear brake fluid, I can unscrew one bolt here for the brake fluid reservoir, and then it's really just held on. It's like a butterfly piece here in the back. It's held in by a bunch of wires, but then it should be able to just slip out from there. So we'll go ahead and unbolt the reservoir and keep digging. Lose it. And this piece here, this one is on the bottom, this one runs up top, and then this one is on the very bottom. And then this should be able to just slip out from underneath there if it doesn't grab things, which it is. Another piece not broken and out. Just to keep track of things, I did lose this little washer nut here. I was trying to figure out where it went. It actually goes right in here. So there's one bolt there that has a washer nut, or one bolt here that has a washer, another bolt under here that has a washer, and then up here in the corner of this is missing this little guy. So that should go right in there. Actually, it'll flip around. Just good things to know. That way we don't lose things. I'll probably take those out for now. Those do look like they're attached to the clutch case, so I'll need those for the future. So for now, I'll take them off. That way we don't lose them. Well, I was trying to be a little bit picky about what I took off the right side of this bike. I was hoping that I wouldn't have to take the entire right side apart to get to this clutch case, but it goes up higher than I anticipated behind these plastics. What you can see here is that the clutch case actually has bolts here behind the plastic, and then runs back down. And so it comes up and kind of hugs underneath all of this here, which to me, that just means most everything has to come off, because that top layer is covering the bottom layer, and so there's just really no reason to be picky about it. It all needs to come off. So that's what we're going to do. We're not going to be tiddlywinking around with it. We're just going to jump right into taking the whole thing apart. Good thing this came out of the way, because there's 1, 2, 3 bolts holding this bracket on there. So that'll be good. Just need to make sure I follow myself and don't lose parts. Let's keep track of things. All right, let's see. What all? Let's take apart this wiring loom but let's do it strategically. Let's see, do I need to take that one off? Yep.
I'm always cautious taking apart wiring looms. There seems to be 1,000 zip ties, and it's impossible to keep track of for when it goes back together.
Can't tell if that's broken or not. I think this is up here, so we'll keep that.
Here, I'm just uncoupling the wire to the ignition coil, and then we're golden.
Now that that piece is off the bike, we can go ahead and move our way back down. I know you can't see it from where you are, but that's what I'm going to be doing next. We had a whole bunch of wiring that we needed to get out of the way, and now we can clearly see exactly where that clutch case routes and what needs to come out. And I'm pretty sure everything else is going to be able to just pull out and move out of the way. I'm realizing as I'm looking at this, I do also need to take out the rear set on this side, which is fine because I got new ones of those. So yeah, plastic shroud, rear sets, that's what's next. Come on back over, let's get it done. I think I might need to pull this out anyways, but oh, that's easy.
To get this shroud out, I'm having to maneuver the wiring harness and the ABS brake lines out of the way. Then it should be able to just slide right out.
There we go. Good. Who are you? I'll take that now. I don't know. Now we can clearly see the extent of the damage to this clutch housing, clutch case, whatever you want to call it. We had a full crack here, and that full crack goes all the way back. Luckily, I don't think anything else is damaged on the engine so far. And I say that knowing that that is like a perfect setup for future episodes for there to be major damage, but I'm just fingers crossed, baby. Fingers so crossed. There you go. No, not that one. That one there, yeah. There we go. Now try. Perfect. How are you supposed to get there? That's really stupid. Just go ahead and pull the thing apart. Please fit. Wouldn't that be so nice? Oh, does it? Oh my goodness, that's like, I have 2 of those. I legitimately have 2 Allen keys, like in my entire tool chest, which is terrible of me. Lucky. Oh, there it is. She breaks free. Off she comes. Whoop, whoop. Nailed it. It's the next day, and we have more work to do. What I'd like to do today is to clean up the back end of this motorcycle, so all of this here, get that torn off the bike, and then the exhaust. Get that off the bike. I know it has damage to it, and if I can fit into the budget, I would like to update it. That's what's next. Let's start tearing down.
Weirdly, this tail is a mixed bag of okay, fully broken, or just missing parts. The front of the bike is what took the brunt of the damage, so I thought, but this just goes to show that you never really know the whole story of these wrecked bikes until you start digging into them.
That's broken, but this is in good shape. So that's loose. Yeah, buddy?
Do you want this?
You can have it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I really need this.
Okay. Now that this is loose, let's get the taillight off and remove this whole thing.
Thanks for letting me have this big piece of cardboard.
You're very welcome.
With all that was unscathed on this tail end, finding warped bolts is definitely odd. But we'll go ahead and add it to the things we need.
And that should really clean up this back end really nicely, except actually, no, I take that back. Up top here, we need to get whatever this thing is off. That's definitely broken as well, where the seat latches here. And then we can move on to the exhaust. But yeah, we're doing really good. Here, can you spin this one? Push. There you go. Nice, bud. I know I said that I wanted to get to the exhaust after getting the tail end tidied up back there, but I got distracted and I started to mess around with where the headlight bracket attaches to the frame here. And there's a bolt where the bracket connects to the frame, and I was trying to get that out. And the tool that I was using, one of these hex keys here, snapped off in the head of the bolt. And so now I get to be a little ghetto and try to get that bolt out. I'll show you what it looks like here in the diagrams, and it looks like the thread is at the back of the bolt, and the head of the bolt isn't threaded in on the right side. And so I should be able to cut out the center of this bolt and then extract the head and then manufacture a way to get the rest of the bolt out of the frame. So let's try that. This may end up being a whole thing. I hope not. We'll find out. What? What? How in the world did this thing just, that came out without any problem at all. I'm gonna take that as a win and hope the front does the same. Well, I finally got that bolt out of the frame, and it was so stuck in there. I'll show you. I don't know if you can see it here clearly, but this thing was rusted in there so badly. It was impossible to get out. I broke off 2 extractors, and finally I ended up having to, again, let's see if we can get this in the camera. I had to cut it clearly in half. So drilled out the middle of it, and then I cut it. This thing was wild. It is a wild affair over here, but we finally got it out. It's such a small piece of this build, but it took so long. Is what it is. Gotta get it done. It is a new day, or a new night more realistically, and what we need to do now is get this exhaust off. Once the exhaust comes off, we're down to pretty much the major components of this motorcycle: the frame, front, rear wheel assembly, and the engine block itself. Everything else is pretty much off the bike besides wiring and plumbing. But after we get the exhaust off, we're in really good shape to take a really good look, a really thorough look at this motorcycle, and then potentially start to build it back up from there. I take that back. After this comes off, I forgot about this. That's gonna come off too. Sad, sad, sad. So let's get to this exhaust for tonight. First thing I wanna do is get this bad boy off. This is the radiator fan housing, and it goes all the way back to it goes all the way back underneath the exhaust here. This is really broken, but I don't want to just rip it out, obviously. And so there's a couple bolts here, here, and here, some wiring, and we'll get that all squared away, take that off as quickly as possible. So it looks like to get that part off, there is what looks to be a oxygen or an O2 sensor from the exhaust that runs a wire along the side, and so I can't just pull out the radiator fan housing without just ripping that out. So I gotta find a way to remove that wiring. So under here you have the housing. You have this wire here that runs to the fan, and it runs back, loops underneath the exhaust here. Ooh, okay, well, that's one way to do it, I guess. Oh. Okay, garbage. All right, next we have the exhaust itself. I don't know where to start with this thing. I know that the front header, maybe the whole thing, I know at least the front header is very damaged, and so that'll have to come off eventually, but we're going to take this one step at a time. Bear with me as I try to find all of the bolts and pieces for this sucker and get it off. Essentially, we're just gonna start taking bolts off. We can't go wrong. We're taking the whole thing apart. So we're gonna take it all apart piece by piece. I'll watch it back if I need to put it back on. Or get a different exhaust for it, we'll see.
One thing I've done differently on this bike than the Diavel was just jumping in. No research ahead of this teardown, and that's definitely come back to haunt me multiple times. Here, I'm just uncoupling an O2 sensor, then back to searching for bolts.
I found another sneaky bolt right there. I'm gonna take that out next.
There are actually 4 of these bolts, or screws as Ducati calls them, holding on the silencer. 2 in the back with vibration dampeners, and 2 in the front through a hanging bracket.
Well, I can't get one of the bolts that I'm looking for right now out of the way, so I'm going to try to remove the front header first. This shouldn't be that hard.
I decided to remove this end cap and side plate in order to get better access to the header, but it's proving harder than anticipated.
I hate you, stupid thing. I will win. Ow. I might not. Do I make the decision to ruin this plate? I think I'm just gonna leave it. I think I can get to everything else I need without ruining it. And I may reuse this. I don't know. It's pretty junky. But let's just leave it on for now, make that decision later. That's tomorrow's landing. Tomorrow. Night number 2 of getting this exhaust off the bike. It's gonna happen tonight. So first things first, we're gonna move this out of the way, because if I just unlatch it here, I believe, I can move this box and start getting the front header out of the way. With the front header out of the way, I can start taking this bike apart piece by piece. That's the plan, we're doing it, it's happening.
My first thought was to remove the evap canister, but
Oh, I may have lied.
it ended up being more involved than I was hoping for at the moment. So I went back to the header.
Man, I don't know how I'm gonna get the back one off of there. Well, 2 down.
In the end, there was no way around it. So out it came with the bracket holding it in as well.
Now I can see the bolt for the header, and I think I can get a, what are they called? I can get a tool back there, just not the drill. So it's gonna be a little bit longer to do, but I can get it done. So that's what we're gonna do.
With the evap out of the way, I had access to the header nuts, just not the right tool.
All right, so that didn't work. This has not been my night. The last bolt on the front header is super rusted on there. Honestly, from the crash, it might even just be like warped onto the bike. And the tools I have at my disposal are not cutting it. So we're gonna transition away from that front header back to the muffler and see if we can get that off. Hopefully, with the tools that I have, we should be able to get that off fairly easily. And really, it's just gonna be going at those bolts that are underneath the muffler, and then the muffler should be able to just fall away from the bike. It should be pretty easy, fingers crossed. Let's move on to that next. I told you I'm not a quitter. Actually, I don't think I told you that, but that was my mantra as I was trying to get this dumb thing off. And I still haven't gotten it off completely, but I got this off, which is a big step. The right guard on this muffler, and what I had to do to get this off was ridiculous. I had to, as you can see at the bottom here, file down the bolt that was holding it on by hand, because I don't have any tools that'll do that for me. But I had to hand file that down so I could pull it off. Now I can go ahead and get this muffler off the bike. I'm almost positive. And then we are done for the night, because I am wiped. I believe this one can come off as well. Pretty sure I got all of the pieces. No, I didn't. I'm an idiot. There's another bolt on top here that needs to come out as well. Another nut and washer. Luckily, these seem pretty easy. I totally forgot about one. I gotta take this rear set off, and that'll be the last one. I can see it's the last thing holding this thing on. So let's do that real quick and get this thing off of here for good.
Luckily, getting this rear set off is relatively simple. Just this bolt at the top, then one at the bottom.
Now we can finally get to the last bolt on this exhaust. Jeepers, this has been a nightmare.
This last bolt is the final of the 4 bolts that I had mentioned earlier holding the silencer up.
Got it. And now, with that, oh, goodness, this thing's heavy. Gracious. Holy moly. Now that I see this thing in its full glory, I hate it. I want a new exhaust so bad. This thing sucks. I believe that is going to be the end of this episode. I hope that you have enjoyed this as much as I have. And if you've enjoyed this as much as I have, you've enjoyed this just a little bit. So that's enough for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being part of this journey so far. Actually, I take that back. What we're going to do is we're going to go over the cost breakdown of this motorcycle so far. I know that that is something that I'm sure everybody's super interested in. Maybe not. But it'll be interesting to see how much this bike compares to the last build, what the budget is for this bike, and how close we are to that budget so far. So when it's light out, we will get to the budget, and that should be right about now. Like I was saying, what I would love to do is walk through what this bike has cost me so far. If you remember correctly, the last build we did, I thought was a fantastic deal. I got a 2024 Disassembly V4 for around $7,000. To me, that was a fantastic deal at the time. Looking back at that, I don't know if that was such a great deal. But I do think that we got a good deal on this bike. Who knows? That is still to be seen. So what I'd like to do now is break down for you what this bike has cost me so far. And the winning bid for this motorcycle was $1,550, which was basically nothing. Taxes and everything, that led to the final cost just about $2,200. That's still really good. That gives us a fairly large budget for this motorcycle. Since getting it home, we have both found a number of things that are wrong with the motorcycle and ordered parts for that, as well as before even getting it here, I knew there was a lot wrong with it that needed parts. So far, we have spent a list of things. So right now I bought the full front wheel. It's the wheel itself. It came with a brand new tire. It came with rotors. It came with all the spacers. It came with everything on the wheel ready to go, ready for the street. And that cost me $1,350. So not cheap, but for a OEM front wheel with everything on it, $1,300, I thought it wasn't that bad of a price, so I went with it. Another thing was the bottom triple for this. Now, obviously it needs the top triple clamps as well, but the bottom triple was a heavy hitter price-wise. That cost me $568 shipped here. Again, high price, but not too terrible, I didn't think. Another thing was I got this, the front forks and the taillight. I got those together for $650. For what I spent on the front forks of the Disassembly, which was around $3,000, that price is insanely good. They're used, but they're great. And then the other thing that I have so far is battery. And the reason I put that up there is, let me get it actually. I love these. I have it on my S1000RR. It has saved me countless times because on the top of this battery, it has a restart button. This restart battery is essentially a fuse in the battery itself that once the battery trickles down to a certain ampage, it will cut power from the battery. By hitting the restart button on the battery, it opens up that fuse to give you the remaining amount of the battery to restart your bike. This allows you to never drain your battery completely. And again, it really wasn't that expensive. So the battery itself costs around $130. There are lots of other things that we need for this Panigale, for sure. But right now, for a 2023 Panigale V2, for the price that we purchased it for and the budget that we want to spend, what I would like to spend in this motorcycle, do I put the number my wife would like to see, or do I put the number that I think is realistic? Right around $8,000. I think, based on what we have to spend from the original purchase price and just being scrappy with little things like buying the forks used, the taillight used for a very cheap price, getting the front wheel from eBay but brand new, fully assembled for a cheaper price, those things will add up over time. For a used Panigale V2, if we were to hit this number here, that's a really good price. So that's what we're going for. That's going to be the end of our episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sticking around if you have so far. If you like this video, smash the like button, drop a comment, follow along for more. We are going to be pumping these videos out as fast as we can. It'll most likely be on a semi-weekly basis as parts come in. Again, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.